We are here today to talk about a couple capabilities, skills that entrepreneurs need to be very successful. And my initial take on it would be the word action. For me, I'm a firm believer of action. So, regardless of the skills and capabilities, action trumps everything. Entrepreneurship is just not a snapshot of things, it's about taking action, reflecting on it, and then building on whatever good news or bad news, whatever it is, it's the iteration of things. So, first, if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I would become an action-oriented, action-based is something that I would say.
Yeah, and I would agree in some ways. We talk about entrepreneurship as a way of thinking, a way of acting. If we just think we're not an entrepreneur, it is truly that action based on the thought that leads us. So you hear terms like grit, or you hear terms like hustle, and these are very action oriented. These are getting out there and doing it and persevering and overcoming all the odds. I think in the work that I do, the one component that we may add in the area of social entrepreneurship is that of empathy. So if we think of human-centered design, but here we really take it to the extreme to say, I need to understand how people are living in poverty without access to water or solar lamps. That's quite a bit different than some of our traditional entrepreneurial ventures, but yet it is incredibly important in terms of building those solutions that you're going to act upon.
I totally agree. As a matter of fact, we have a class that is called Empathy and Idea Generation. Yeah. So of course it goes back to design thinking, but at Babson, we're a firm believer, once again, of being driven by problems around the world. Entrepreneurs become successful because of the nature of the problems they solve. Sure. And in order to truly understand the problems, you really need to empathize. Empathy is just the key word of observation, getting insights, and then coming up with a solution.
Yeah, and again, in the area of social entrepreneurship, it's one of the unique parts about it where the problems aren't really the issue, right? If we were to identify these are social problems around the world, hunger, poverty, lack of education, most people are going to say, yeah, we may not get 100% consensus, but we're going to get an awful lot of people that agree. Now, developing the solution, that's a whole different issue, and I think that is where we move into empathy and trying to understand not the big problem, but the specifics of the way the problem plays out in context, and then the areas that we might take action against it.
Totally agree. What other capabilities, what other skills do you think?
Well, so I mean, if we push down this area of action, then the question becomes, okay, what kind of action do they take? I mean, action is a bit broad. So what are the kinds of things that entrepreneurs actually engage in? Again, related to the empathy or understand the problem, it's really this customer interaction. I mean, I think about our students, I think about our successful alumni. It's really those that have gone out to a specific set of customers, understood that problem, and then really built a solution around that. So for us, it's really customer-centric. It's customer testing, it's customer validation, but putting the customer at the center is really what drives an awful lot of problem understanding.
Agreed. If I were to shift the discussion a little bit in terms of action, I was again thinking about the capability in the skills, and my gut reaction to that question was actually there is no specific set of skills and capabilities that work in general. It's just case by case, and it's just by the nature of the problem, by the nature of the business. But one thing I can say is, again, going back to the action-oriented, the less thinking you do, it's more of do then learn versus the learn then do model. In other words, if you know too much about it, if you think too much, if you overthink, then you put on the brakes too much. So it's almost like I teach my students to be a bit stupid in a way that they're stupid enough to just go out there and then see the world, what actions they can take, and then come back and iterate, as opposed to thinking too much and then creating like a thick business plan that we can always tweak. Just play dumb, go out there and then see the world. That's probably a better model. That's better process, a behavior of thought and action
Yeah.
versus a specific set of skills.
No, I think it's right. And I think if you move away from business plan to lean canvas, right, you move in that direction where you're going to create some hypothesis, you're going to go out there and act on those, you're going to go figure it out, and you're going to iterate back through it. So I would agree. I think that the more we can push down that path, the better. And so I agree. Leading with action, right? It seems a little counterintuitive. And certainly if we compare that to the traditional corporate environment, it's very different. I mean, we see real challenges, even in our program, between those that are focused more in the corporate area and those that are focused on the entrepreneurial area. It's not comfortable for someone who is used to planning out every detail to say, I'm going to act in the face of uncertainty and ambiguity without data. And yet, to your point, I think that's where we see the real entrepreneurs distinguish themselves. They act, they're able to we always say fail fast. They're actually able to iterate fast is what they're able to do. They're able to understand that before they have too much investment and too much sunk cost into solutions that are less viable.
Agreed. Anything else to add?
No, I'm done.